Now remember this, when the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit. Now get the fuck out of my office. Thank you. My pleasure. Oh, what a movie this was. The Fablemans, aka the unofficially official Steven Spielberg biopic, was written and directed by, wait for it, Steven Spielberg. Yeah, the man that has directed stuff like Jaws and Indiana Jones and Munich and so many other great goddamn movies. E.T. It would take forever to list his entire catalog of movies. Hell, he did Duel. That was pretty much his big break. And then he got to do Jaws and a whole bunch of other stuff. And while not every single goddamn director bats 1,000, Steven Spielberg is pretty much on the Mount Rushmore of filmmakers, especially for, older and modern times. This man absolutely gets it, and after 50 goddamn years of doing TV movies and other movies and just pouring his heart into so many movies, pouring his soul, his mind, his body, his blood, his sweat, his tears, his passion into so many films, Schindler's List, so many great movies, he hasn't lost a goddamn bit of his touch. There's one particular line in this movie before I dive more into the review. Family, art, it will tear you in two. And it'll tear you in more pieces, evidently, based on what I'm doing there. Judd Hirsch had a phenomenal supporting role in this, and this was also written by Tony Kushner, who did the recent West Side Story remake, which I still need to get around to, and Munich and other stuff. And yeah, Steven Spielberg basically tells his life story here of being a young man that got inspired by film and a love of film blossomed from his early childhood into his teenage years. And this focuses mainly around about a 12 to 13 year period, and some great acting, some tremendous acting in this. I didn't get a chance to watch this in theaters, mainly due to the fact, A, it was 2.5 hours, my time was limited, and I finally had a chance to go rent it, and I rented it on Amazon for $20. And you know what? I absolutely was more than happy to plunk down $20 because this is absolutely worth it. There are some people that may call this movie boring. That's fine. You can have that opinion. It's your opinion. I don't agree with it, but that's all right. Steven Spielberg, is this his absolute best movie ever? No, but it is something that was a passion project with tremendous acting, excellent cinematography, great use of music. Okay, maybe it does gloss over some of the details since it is PG-13. It can't quite go in on all the stuff that Spielberg likely experienced as a Jewish man. But there are some moments where it's like, ooh, this is a little uncomfortable. But Michelle Williams plays Mitzi, his mother. The fact that Michelle Williams is able to be old enough to play a mother proves that we are all, getting old to the point where we have one foot in the ground. Because I remember seeing her in Dawson's Creek. That was years and years and years ago. I don't want to wait for that series to be over. That's why I stopped watching when Joey and Dawson got together. Paul Dano, who broke out. I mean, he had other roles before, but he really broke out with a surprise with a surprise role in the Batman. I mean, and by surprise role, I mean, wow, I didn't expect him to be all that good, but boy, he was tremendous. Seth Rogen plays Benny, who is an integral figure here. Gabriel LaBelle plays Sammy, or Sam, because he made the pants too long. I can't help but say that. And this basically starts in 1952, where he sees the greatest show on earth, the young Sam does. I can't remember who the child was that played the young Sammy, because the teenage Sammy is played by Mr. Gabriel LaBelle, who is tremendous in this as well. This deserves every bit of accolade that it gets. Every bit of any accolades, Golden Globes, whatever, stuff from goddamn Mars, if they have film crews up there. Maybe they don't. Maybe we'll find out when the device is complete. Nevertheless, it is just rich with excellent dialogue, great acting, and a well-paced story that really does tug at your heartstrings, practically rips your heart out and just plucks at the strings and everything. Oh, I feel so deliciously white trash. Mommy, I want a mullet. But yeah, after seeing The Greatest Show on Earth, which if you've seen the iconic train wreck scene, which was very, very well done, and then he decides, even though he's haunted by the fact of seeing this as a young child, he realizes that this is what he wants to do with his life. And from there, he's growing up with his sisters. He has a love of filmmaking, he ends up getting to where he's able to make money off of this. He's able to use his money that he makes with student film projects and gets friends together. Does some great stuff. His dad fixes electronics, is going to work for General Electric, not I Sing the Body Electric, because we are not going into Twilight Zone yet, because Golden Earring is not here. Boy, this is a lot of weird references. And Michelle Williams also is it's a very Jewish-centric family, by the way, which I know might be a little bit surprising unless you saw literally 15 seconds of the trailer. And in fact, I told you Judd Hirsch is in it, who was born in 1935 and still just has tremendous comedic timing. I mean, he was great in Taxi. This is basically Judd Hirsch condensed into a few scenes like he was in Independence Day. I'm not Jewish. Ha! Nobody's perfect. So goddamn great. So goddamn great. And just a lot of great acting in this. And we move forward gradually. We find out that there are some certain things going on, some strife in the family life. Some people may be happy with how the family life's going. They move around from place to place. They end up moving at one point and taking Benny with them, Seth Rogen's character, at the behest of Mitzi. Wonder why. That's a red flag right there. And then they move to Phoenix, and he does more filmmaking. They move to California, and that's where certain things that popped up in the trailer come up, especially the anti-Semitism, which is fucking bullshit. If you hate people just because they're Jewish, you're a goddamn idiot, and you quite frankly deserve to basically either be educated or cast off of this earth. Let me just say that right now. But the acting is tremendous. Some of it, okay, they do gloss over a few things, and some of it does. They spend a lot of time on certain things, and then they just zoom over other things. Judd Hirsch isn't in it all that long, but they build a particular thing where about halfway through, boom, it just really, really goddamn hits. And it's a really, really touching moment of a family basically starting to come apart, and it's just really, really expertly well told. I mean, it's a movie that needs to be experienced. I mean, I'm going to do a spoiler section, but it's a movie that needs to be experienced. Because there's a lot of great acting in this, a lot of great dialogue. I mean, a few lines that I might mention, but it's just so good. And Spielberg absolutely nailed it here. I don't know how many more he's got left in the chamber as far as, great films. But this is almost a return to glory. Again, I gotta check out the West Side Story remake. I heard that was actually really good and something he'd been wanting to work on for quite a while. But he nailed it here. He nailed it here. I mean, you got stuff like Amistad that obviously dealt with that subject matter a lot darker. I mean, Minority Report and so many of his other movies that are just so well revered for good, bad, or indifferent. And again, not everybody bats 1,000, but this is one of Spielberg's best, especially one of his best in the last, I'd say, 25 years. And he's been doing this for 50. Well, I mean, he's been doing this for longer than 50, but as far as like when Duel came out and all that stuff that I mentioned, he nailed it. And the acting's tremendous, cinematography, all the stuff. It's so good. I encourage you guys to watch The Fablemans. It's absolutely tremendous. It is in theaters if you want to sit down and watch it. It is great to experience on the big screen. At least I would imagine. But you can experience it in your home, especially if you have a big enough TV like the one right here behind me where the That's What She Said shirt is there. It's a great goddamn shirt. Fablemans, though, tremendous, great acting, heartbreaking moments, and some moments that make you think, wow, the power of film really can bring, the best out of people, sometimes the worst out of people. And sometimes you just need to go for it and see what happens. And also David Lynch is in this. That's a bit of a spoiler there, but I mean, you'd have to look in the cast to figure it out. So now I am going to get into spoilers, brief spoilers. Won't take very long because I want everybody to be able to experience this and enjoy it. But it's $20 on Amazon right now, or you can wait for it to come to another streaming service. But anyway, it's well worth it. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so the whole thing between Seth Rogen's character, Michelle Williams' character, Paul Dano's character. Basically, Seth Rogen's Benny is like the uncle that's not an uncle, but he's like, he's called an uncle because he's a family friend. He's Bert, Paul Dano's character, he's a lifelong friend. And they always work together and everything. And he always likes to stay close to the family. Why is that? Because him and Mitzi are actually in love with each other. And that gets found out when teenage Sammy, or Sam, who still made the pants too long, films while they're on a camping trip and notices all this stuff and splices this stuff together with his editing machine and finds out all this stuff about his mother. And oh my God, well, how the hell could you do that? How the hell could you do this, Mom? Like, I found this because there's this moment where she slaps him really, really hard because it's like, he knows about this stuff. He's seen it and he's trying to keep it together. But then there's this moment where she's kind of being overbearing and everything. And you should listen to me. I'm your mother. I wish you weren't. Boom! Just hits him and she feels terrible. Even though, yes, he shouldn't have said that. She shouldn't have done that. And it was just an amazing swell of emotions. And then he shows her the footage, says, don't worry, I won't tell. And there's there was this one funny moment earlier in the movie where like there was this tornado that was starting to hit. And they were like, hey, we're gonna go chase the tornado. And it's because she was starting to lose it. Because they're going to end up moving and she's having some problems. And then Seth Rogen is there at a family dinner. The film prospects get brought up. Paul Dano sees it as more of a hobby, but it turns out not be a hobby. It's not a phase, Dad. I learned it from you. And there were Jewish songs and the fact that, they celebrate Hanukkah, not Christmas, so they didn't have Christmas lights up. He makes some more movies, like Escape to Nowhere. He learns from the, what the hell was the name of the goddamn movie? Forgive me. The man who shot Liberty Vance. I really should have wrote those down on a separate piece of paper. But he's learning all this stuff. And then after Mitzi's mother dies, then Judd Hirsch comes in because she has a bad dream where a call comes from her mother from beyond the grave. Don't let him in. And it's Judd Hirsch, her brother. He tells his story about being in the circus and film, but he had to leave his family behind. He still encourages Sammy to go for it, but the family art, it will tear you in two because you have to figure out and balance love and everything, and it will hurt you to not spend as much time with your family, but to pursue your dream. And that's really what it's all about. And then we get the camping film stuff, and he finds out about Mom and Benny. That's tearing him in two because sometimes you dive into this personal stuff. And then they end up moving to Northern California and while they're on the move, he has to settle his mom down because she's like, do you think that, your dad knows? Because, this stuff's so obvious. They aren't exactly being good at hiding it. And what ends up happening is she says, Bert's one of the kindest guys. I care about him. I do love him, but I don't love him like I love Benny. And then they move to Northern California. The anti-Semitism gets out of control. He falls in love with a girl that he kind of pursues a little bit. She pursues him really insanely over religion, because of the Jews and Jesus and all that, and believing in their version of heaven, not a Christian heaven, all that stuff, and it kind of gets glossed over. But Monica, which is a name that I know Hulk Hogan loves to say, but not for the reasons, and Hulk, no! Anyway, for some reason a monkey gets brought in because the mother is clearly losing it. She names the monkey Benny. Why? Because she misses Benny. So then we get a family being fractured and screaming and loud noises. And all the while Sammy's dealing with anti-Semitism and some bullies are punching him out and everything. And there you go. That's certainly something to experience. And then he tells the girl at the prom that he really, really likes her after he had filmed a beach party thing and including the bullies, and actually made one of the bullies that punched him out look like Superman, look like a glorious individual. But because he says he loves her and he found out about the divorce, and kind of threw all that on her, she got panicked. But then she probably realized she made a mistake by breaking up with him because she saw the film like, oh my God, he's really talented. I went too far and now she can't find him all of a sudden. I don't know how much of that is true. All this is happening really, really quickly by this point. The mother is going to end up going back to live with Benny. And then then the family is kind of fractured, like the kids are going back and forth. Sammy's going into college, and he doesn't really want to do, he really doesn't want to do that kind of stuff. He really doesn't want to do that stuff anymore. But the thing about the film with the bullies is because of the anti-Semitism, even though one guy is like one of the guys, more of the big jock guys, like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, I'm so confused. Why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? I've been nothing but an asshole to you. I just filmed what the camera caught. I just filmed it like I saw it and everything, and like what the camera saw. And he was just so alarmed But then he realized, wait a second, I'm a goddamn idiot for hating you because you're Jewish. I can hate you because you're a person, but not because you're Jewish. He did punch out the one other bully, the nerdier, well, not nerdier one, but the smaller, scrappier one. Like, let me at him. And he got, freaking punched out and ran off. That was kind of funny. But then he tells him in passing, life's nothing like the movies, Fableman. And then we go over another year, because what is this? A calendar Olympics. He's living with his dad, and he's trying to break into Hollywood. Sammy is. And he eventually gets an offer to possibly be on Hogan's Heroes, or possibly be an assistant to an assistant and, work from there. But he wants to work in movies. This one guy says, how about you go meet the greatest film director alive? Who is it? It's John Ford, played by David Lynch. And that was where the line came in. When the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit. And I don't know why that was so amusing to me, but it really, really was. This was really goddamn good. And he's all that. He figures out, more of a way to love film. And I mean, this is 64, 65. So it was still going to be a while before he would break out. It would be like a full-blown decade, basically, until he achieved the superstardom that he did, thanks to Jaws. But a love of film was born. And it gets an A+. This is one of the best films of the goddamn year. God, I gushed about this goddamn thing like crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.